privilege to welcome you to a very, very special Shabbat. As everyone knows, this is the beginning. This is our anniversary. It has now been a year since we have been struggling with the lockdown and the COVID and all of the moments that we've shared this year. It's been a year, and we want to celebrate this week that year anniversary. We want to celebrate the fact that we can see light at the end of the tunnel. We want to celebrate the fact that so many of our family and friends have joined us to celebrate Jewish life together. Cantor, can we begin with a nigun, please? A little melody.
Of course. Yai rai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Ai lai 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 lai. Ai lai 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 lai. Ai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Ki eshmera Shabbat el yishmereini. Ki eshmera Shabbat el yishmereini. Oti leul meyad beino veini. Oti leul meyad beino veini. Clap your hands. Ki eshmera Shabbat el yishmereini. Ki eshmera Shabbat el yishmereini. Oti leul meyad beino veini. Oti leul meyad beino veini. Beino veini. Beino veini.
I don't suppose I have to tell you that it's been a year like no other year. For one thing, it has been a year of tremendous losses. We've had so many friends and family who've been lost to us. There have been so many businesses and fortunes that were lost to us. There were so many moments that were lost. There are the kids who didn't get to have a high school graduation and the kids who didn't get to have a last year in elementary school. There were kids whose bar mitzvahs were just a handful of family and friends gathered in the back of the shul. There were couples whose weddings were postponed once, twice, three times, and finally held in a backyard with just a few people. And there were so many families who had to suffer through losses without the community about them to be with them, to support them, and to protect them. It has been that kind of a year of tremendous loss and sadness. And then something happened as well. Maybe the poet is right when they said that it takes a shadow in order for us to see the brightness of the light. Or maybe it's the teaching that Rabbi Schulweis always shared with us, that we are the hands of God. And that the question, why does God allow things like this to happen, can only be answered when we step forward and said, but I'm going to stop it. I'm going to heal. I'm going to help. And what so many of you did this year is say, the world may be broken, but I refuse to be broken. The world about us may be broken, but the community that I cherish, the friendships that hold us together, the faith that we hold together, the convictions that we share, those will not be broken. And so many friends came up and said, let me help. Let me help. Let me provide the resources. Let me provide the strength. Let me give you some hours of my time. Let me provide my own spirit so that it helps. So that those in the community who need our help will know that we are here to help. VBS this year conducted what we called a war on isolation. We actually went through the membership rolls and discovered that we have about 90 people, mostly older adults who live alone, who have no one in their lives to be with them, and we called them every single week. Cantor Fox alone, who's here with us tonight, Cantor Fox made thousands of phone calls to people who were ill, where people are having trouble, where people were just lonely. Anyone who needed a word in Yiddish, even if they don't speak Yiddish, he spoke Yiddish to them, who needed a little bit of warmth. You all said it. We will heal, and we will help each other, and we will lift each other out, and we will make sure that the community that we cherish will thrive and flourish even in the worst of times. And tonight, on the anniversary of the lockdown, on the anniversary of the pandemic, tonight is a Shabbos to celebrate not just the losses, to commemorate the losses, but to celebrate the power of renewal and resurrection and hope to overcome this darkness. So we thank all of you for coming tonight. Thank you for sharing this wonderful celebration of Shabbat. It's a little rainy and cold outside. As I'm looking out my window, I can see the skies are kind of gray, but we are together, and that's what makes Shabbos so very, very warm. Cantor Baron, lead us in Kabbalat Shabbat. If you happen to have a prayer book, which you that we're going to be on page, where are we going to be?
13.
Page 13 in the prayer book. Rabbi Farkas, I turn it over to you.
Let's all put our arms around each other virtually right now. Even that feels good. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malchei hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malchei hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, malachei shalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, malachei shalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Zeitchem shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Yay la 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 Kadosh Baruch Hu. Lechu niranena l'Adonai, nariya letzor yishenu. Hearing something very strange. Are you hearing it strange over there also?
Scott, if you wouldn't mind, Scott Howard, if you wouldn't mind muting yourself, that'd be great.
Nikadma fanav betoda, bizmirot narialo, lechu niranena, lechu niranena, lechu niranena l'Adonai, lechu niranena, lechu niranena, lechu niranena l'Adonai. Warm up your hands. Nariya, nariya, litzori sheinu, nikadma fanav betoda. Nariya, nariya, litzori sheinu, bilmirot nariya lo. Lechu niranena, lechu niranena, lechu niranena l'Adonai, lechu niranena. Lechuneranena, Lechuneranena, Adonai. Ki El Gadol Adonai, Umelech Gadol Adol Elohim. Ki El Gadol Adonai, Umelech Gadol Adol Elohim. Lechuneranena, 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 Adonai. Lechuneranena, 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 Adonai. 40 שנה הכות בנור, ואומרם תוהה לבבם, והם לא ידעו דרכי, אשר נשבעתי מאפי, אם יבואון אל מנוחתי. אור זרו על הצדיק לצדיק, ולישרי לב שמחה שמחה ללילי. אור זרו על הצדיק לצדיק, ולישרי לב שמחה שמחה ללילי. Do this. That's it. Or zaru al tzadik uleishrei lev simcha simcha la 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 la. Or zaru al tzadik uleishrei lev simcha simcha la 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 la. Ay la 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 la. Ay la 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 la. Ay la 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 la. La 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 la, ay la la la, la 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 la, ay ay. Or zarua la tzadik, ola Yisrael simcha, simcha, simcha. Or zarua la tzadik, ola Yisrael simcha, simcha la 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 la. Or zarua la tzadik, ola Yisrael simcha, simcha la 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 la. Yai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai dai dai. We're on page 17. Romemo Adonai, Eloheinu romemu. Romemo Adonai, Eloheinu romemu. Romemo Adonai, Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai, Eloheinu romemu. V'hishtachavu lehar kosho, v'hishtachavu lehar kosho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu romemu. V'hishtachavu lehar kosho, v'hishtachavu lehar kosho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Yai dai 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 dai, ay dai dai dai, ay dai 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 dai,
Thank you, Cantor Baron. What a beautiful Kabbalat Shabbat. We're about to do the Chadodi. It is so great to see all of you on camera with us and those who are joining us on Facebook and on YouTube and across the globe. It's just such a wonderful feeling. As Rabbi Feinstein said, it's been a year. It's been a tough year, but we made it through. We really did. Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav, who was a famous Hasidic teacher and author, used to teach all of these very complicated and difficult midrashim, difficult pieces of Torah to try to get messages across. And at some point in his life, he decided that what was more powerful was to tell a story. So I'm going to share a brief story from Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav that Rabbi Feinstein taught me that I think really speaks to this moment. There once was a king, and he had a vizier, and they went out to the fields. And the vizier noticed something very strange about the fields. The wheat and the food that was in the fields had been cursed. And the vizier went and investigated it and told the king. He said, "Listen, my king, the food in this field, if you eat it, you'll go crazy. You'll go mad." And the king looked at the vizier and said, "Well, what are we going to do? This is the only food that there is to eat." And the vizier had to think about it for a long time and searched around the kingdom and found that there was enough food for one person to feed for a year of food that wasn't cursed. But the rest of it, people would have to eat. And so the vizier turned to the king and said, we're going to have to choose someone special, someone pure of heart, someone clear-minded. And we're going to give that food to that person. And the rest of us who are going to be forced to eat this cursed harvest are going to go a little crazy for the year. But we need that one person to remind us and to bring us back at the end of the year, to remind us that we're actually insane. And so the king traveled the land looking for the right person and found a child, a young girl, again, pure of heart, pure of soul, and leaned down to the child and said, listen, there's only enough food to feed you to be clean of mind and clean heart, to stay focused. The rest of us are going to do a little zany things this coming year. And I only have one job for you, my child. And she asked, what is it? He said, I want you to take this food and eat it, and every day ride through the town and remind us that we've all gone a little mad. And she took on the responsibility, and sure enough, they distributed the food, and people started acting a little bit crazy. And all year long, she would travel around the village, and she would yell out to the people, listen, you folks, the food you're eating is making you mad. You don't know what you're doing. It drives you a little bit crazy. You do strange things, but know that this will come to an end. All you have to do is listen to my words and find your way back. And over the course of that whole year, over and over again, she encountered friends and family, but they encountered her as someone strange and weird, someone that almost they didn't understand or hadn't even met before. And to each and every one of them, she would yell out to them, you've all gone mad. Please, please, just stick it out a while longer till we can grow the next crop of food. And sure enough, spring came around again, and they were able to harvest. And through all of their craziness, slowly abated, and they are brought back to life again. When Rabbi Nachman teaches this story, he wants to show that all of us, every human being, has a proclivity to go a little crazy sometimes. And if anything, this year has shown us how crazy we've been. Whether it's being locked down or with civil unrest, or the not being able to hug each other, or teaching our children that air hugs are normal, or that the only way that you can see your family is through a screen, the only way you can be to the community is through a computer or a phone. All of us feel like this might be the new normal. But when it comes to Shabbat, and it comes to these feelings, these songs, and when we look at our children, and when we look upon each other, and we find people like each of you who have decided to give to our community and be part of our community, and to push forward and say, and to remind us that what we are experiencing over this last year is not normal. This is not how life is supposed to be lived. We're supposed to be sitting in the same room right now. We're supposed to be holding hands right now. We're supposed to be hugging right now. You're supposed to be kibitzing in the corner of the room and not listening to the rabbi right now. That's how we're supposed to be living life. And to each and every one of you who have spent time this year volunteering for us, giving of your time, of your energy, and of your precious resources to keep our community going. You are those children, you are those prophets, you are those people who are of clear mind and soul and heart that remind us that this life is not the life we should be living, and that when we return again, when the clean harvest rises again, that we will all get back together, and that we will celebrate life together. The words of the Chadodi are words that sow gratitude and energy for Shabbat itself, sown in to each one of our souls as light is sown into the righteous. Each verse builds upon the next, drawing forth the energy for us to burst out of ourselves to go greet the Queen of Shabbat, Shabbat HaMelkah. And with your help over the course of this last year, of being with us and of sharing with us, I want to thank you as we gather our energy together to sing Lecha Dodi, to bring in this Shabbat, this anniversary of this terrible pandemic, knowing that this life isn't normal, but soon, very soon, this insanity will fade and we'll all return to life again. Let's sing Lecha Dodi together on page 20.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad ishmi'anu el hamyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem u'tiferet v'li tehillah. Lecha Dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lo tevoshi velo tikalmi ma tishtochachi u'ma temi. Bach yechesu ani ami v'nivneta ir al tila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Yamin u'smol tifrotzi v'etz Adonai ta'uritzi. Al yarish ben parzi v'nismecha v'nagila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam b'simcha u'b'tzola toch emunei ham segula. Boi chala lecha Dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela.
That was beautiful. Let's just do the Psalm for Shabbat on page 23. Please join us.
Tov lehodot l'Adonai u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon. Lehagid בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות שוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון.
Can we wish everyone around you, especially those here who are on Zoom, look above you, look below you, look to the left, look to the right. Just wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom now that Shabbat is here. You can do little hand waves. You can do some air hugs. As we continue with the Marif prayers, we welcome Rabbi Hoffman to lead us in the evening set of prayers.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Turn now to page 28. If you're able to rise as we begin together, we'll formally begin the prayers, Baruch Hu, following Cantor Baron responsibly.
Yada dai dai dai, 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 yada dai dai dai. Baruch Hu Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Yada dai dai dai, 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 yada dai dai dai. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
We take our seats as we continue in the middle of page 28.
ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב הרבים. אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בנאמרי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. Let's join together for Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Please continue silently or join me at the top of page 31. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל, ואמרת עליהם, ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף מטיל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית, הוריתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם. Amen.
Just a moment, Cantor Baron. Before we continue, I wanted to share something about the Torah that we've been reading this week. It's actually really a special time. We're finishing the second book of the Torah this week. It's called the book of Shemot, the book of Exodus. And in the Torah portion, it really is about the final moments of constructing this thing called the Mishkan, the portable sanctuary that the people will use as they travel through the wilderness from the mountain at Sinai to the Promised Land. And it's kind of extraordinary if you just stop and take a step back and look at what you've read so far in these two books. And in a way, it's almost what you only need to read about the Torah in order to understand our story. In fact, we spend more time talking about these first two books than we do. Perhaps there's more that we'd like to forget about the final three books. And when you think about what the story that's being told, it's this kind of a grand story of the origins of the universe and the origins of humanity and the origins of a family and the origins of a people. And after they go through this incredible journey of slavery and oppression and crying out to God and have their prayers answered with the leadership of Moshe to bring them out of the house of bondage towards the land of freedom, the very first thing that they do is they build something. They build a house. They build a space for God's presence to dwell. And it's remarkable to think that of all the things that we could talk about, as far as the origins of the universe and the way that a family is created and the journey that the people are going to take, that the thing that they build is a house. Why a house? Why not build things that they've also tried to build before? They built a calf. They built tents. But why a house for God? So with each and every detail, and boy, are there a lot of details, we discover a really powerful message in this book. It's kind of the most powerful message, that each and every person has their part to bring to build this house. In fact, it's kind of like the most extraordinary part of the Torah. And often we talk about it and chuckle because it seems so far-fetched in our day, that the people brought more than was necessary to build this house for God. And just to stop for a moment and say, what is it that compelled people to bring more than they needed in order to build this space. And they gave it freely, and they gave it willingly, and they gave it generously. And it was more than enough. Like, how many times do we see places in our world when there's more than enough? We have to pause. We have to tear through all kinds of news stories that give us so much angst and frustration about how much is not yet complete in the world. And here's something that was more than complete. It teaches us such a great lesson. It's the best story of the Torah. The best story of the Torah is that we're created to build something that's bigger than ourselves. And it's a great story because it tells us to create something with more than enough. So tonight we take just a few moments and we celebrate members of the Valley Beth Shalom family who really have taken this spirit and have given in a way that has enabled us to build a home that is more than enough. And we've needed that more than ever this year because of so many things that have made that a challenge, let alone the sort of conditions of the global climate. The whole world is throbbing with a great concern about what it means to be together. And this group of people that we celebrate tonight have made the strong commitment. And perhaps they make it again and again, year after year, to bring more than enough. They do it freely and willingly because they teach us the greatest model, the greatest lesson, that when we tell the story of who we are and who we're yet to be, our task in this world is to build a home for God, if you will. And when we have such an auspicious task, such a great responsibility to fulfill, may it be in all of our hands to give more than enough, freely and lovingly and willingly. So thank you for all of those who gave so generously tonight. Thank you for all of us that participate in this community to build more than enough. And how blessed are we to read a story that now turns the page and says, now that we've built this great house with more than enough, well, what are we going to do with it? We're going to fill it with holy and great things. So let's sing the great journey of holy and great things, Micha Mocha, together, page 34.
Adonai lo leolam vaed yai dai dai yai da 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 dai yai dai dai yai da 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 dai yai dai dai yai da 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 dai yai dai da 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 dai mi kamu bahini maduna mi kamu era la come durante hilo to se וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו Baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael.
We rise together, if you're able. Page 34, we sing Vishamru, the prayers for Shabbat.
V'shomeru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושומרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם לעולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Hadish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה
Amen.
בעלמא דברך ירוצה וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ויאמרו Amen.
Take a few moments now as Shabbat begins and we enter into some silent prayer to enable us to reflect and to absorb the joy of Shabbat, the opportunity to rest and to restore our souls. And we allow the words of the prayer book, which you can find on page 35 through page 38, to guide those meditations and reflections and allow Shabbat to begin restoring your soul. Once again, page 35b or 35a through 38.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol har shalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol har shalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael v'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
We near the conclusion of our prayers this evening with Aleinu, page 11.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל.
Page 51 is good too.
לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר ארץ. ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
There are those in our community not only participating in the Zoom, but also in the community that is joining us on Facebook and YouTube who take this time now to offer loving prayers of memory and of connection with loved ones who have passed on. We turn to page 52 in our Siddur, and there we'll find the words of Kaddish Yatom. It's with great sadness that we also announce the passing of Stanley Weinshank, who is the father of Helene and Barry Laufman, Joyce and Steve Wasserman, and Jerry and Marianne Weinshank, brother of Lois Gass, grandfather of 6, including Randy and Megan Laufman, and great-grandfather of 5, as well as the passing of Yusuf Budagi, the father of Rita and Jack Udai, and their children, and all those who are gathered this evening to recite the words which sanctify life and offer prayers of comfort and peace to you who mourn. We now gather around you as you recite these words once again, page 52. Yitkadal ve'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Ve'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Together. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam omei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. Vitadar, vitale, vitalal, shemedekucha, barichu. Leila min kol berchata v'shirata. Tush berchata v'mechemata. Da'amiram be'ama v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael b'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mamav. V'yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Take our seats once again. Turn it back over to Rabbi Feinstein.
Cantor, we have a closing nigun, please.
Of course. ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוק נורא, והוא היה, והוא הווה, והוא יהיה, בתפארה, אדון עולם, אשר מלך, בטרם כל, יציר נברא, עת נעשה, כפסו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, בידו נפקיד רוחי, והייתי שם ויאירה, ועם רוחי גבייתי, אדוני לי ולא אירא, אדון עולם, אשר מלך, בטרם כל, יציר נברא, ועת נעשה, כפסו כל, אזי מלך שמו לי. Come on everybody! אדון עולם, אשר מלך, בטרם כל, יציר נברא, ועת נעשה, כפסו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Thanks. Nice to see you
Hey,
guys.
Doug.
We want to thank everyone who's joined us for services tonight. If you are a member on the Premier or Premier Plus status, please stay on the Zoom. And we want to just thank everyone also on Facebook and on YouTube for joining us this evening. Really nice to see rolling comments from all over the country come in to wish everyone a wonderful Shabbat.